Hello, my name is Philip Ross, and this is a short film just to explain what the Principles Group has been doing and about the output that we produced. I'm indebted to thank Liz Wrigley and Thomas Hoffner for their support in putting this together. This report mainly comes from the Principles Working Group, and the mandate for the Principles Working Group was to agree a set of principles that can be used to determine what a garden city is, determine how those principles could be applied, and consider how such principles could evolve over time, and in doing so differentiate between visible and invisible architecture in terms of principles. Our aim, as you know, is to produce an accreditation system for garden cities. It's going to be based around principles. Now, we've worked particularly on the three that I have ringed here, actually, on terms of principles, to try and work out how to actually structure the principles and vision statements and methods that we've all come across. Actually, we thought about the people we would be talking to. We thought there was three particular groups who would be interested in any accreditation system for a garden city. Firstly, you've got your local leaders who may want to build a garden city where they want, and they need to win support for it. They need to be able to have a vision for what they want to produce. Secondly, you've got local communities and existing and new communities who need something to trust what is actually going to be delivered, a covenant between them, something they can actually lay their trust in. And thirdly, you've got your developers and your planners, who actually, and the builders, who actually want to know what to do, need some guidance on actually what it needs to be produced to actually implement that. So we've called these the vision statements, a set of principles, and a set of methods. Actually, methods are actually how you implement principles, and principles form part of a vision. We realised too there were two other interested parties in this. One, if we actually build an accreditation process, then financial bodies will have something that they can lend against. And secondly, educational bodies have something they can teach against. So what do we have? We've got our vision statements, then we've got principles, and we've got methods. And we talked about visible and invisible architecture. Some things are being about build issues, and some things are being about governance issues, actually. And we have a need that we need to deliver this in a usable format. Let me just explain again about this vision statement. The vision could be capturing the good of prosperity for the good of all. Principle could be actually to implement a system of land value capture, and the methods of doing that could be community land banks, community land trusts, or endowments. And you see I put another example here around green infrastructure. So what we said we were going to produce for our toolkit is actually we decided to put it out as an XML file actually. What I've done is I created a database in Access as opposed to spreadsheets where we actually can enter vision statements, principles and methods and actually link them all together. And through Access, after a clever bit of programming, we've been able to output this as an XML file. Now that doesn't look particularly useful. It's actually more of a structured output. Actually looks better. Now what you can do with an XML file is you can apply what's called a style sheet to actually, without touching the data in the XML file, you can actually always reformat it as an HTML file, which looks useful. Okay, now I talked about the Access database being able to produce an XML file of all these vision statements, these principles and these methods, and actually link them all linked together. This of course is what an XML file looks like. Now I know some people may think, well, this is something you could flick through and read, but it's not really that readable. But it is a standard format actually, which is understandable to most computer programmers. Actually can do something with it. What we can do very simply is actually take that file and actually just apply what's called a XSLT files, like a style sheet, to be able, without actually to touch the data, to display it in a more meaningful way, which is what I've done here. Actually, so you look here, we've got our logo, and here we've got all the vision statements. So first vision statement, the one we've been talking about before, community ownership of land. I've got the principles, land value capture, the methods for achieving that, and other principles actually which are linked in there, and methods of actually achieving those. So we think these principles are linked to that vision statement. And what I've done here, of course, is I put some hyperlinks in. So I click on the one there, it takes me to the detail of the principle with more text explaining what it is, and then the same here on the methods. So I click on the method and it takes me down. If I'm clever, I can click on the link here on that method, and as you can see, it will take me off to actually where I've got that information about the method from. I think that's actually quite useful. So if we go back, I'll just go back. And look here, so I've got some text at the beginning just explaining about the version, and on all of the different vision statements I've done exactly the same, the principle and the methods. Some of the principles, we haven't got any particularly defined methods yet to support the principles, but that's just a matter of time. So as we flick all the way through, there are effectively 17, 18, 19 draft vision statements actually, and then those statements themselves reference different principles. I've done the principles in red, and you can see this is actually where we jumped to earlier, and on the statements for each one, whether it's visible or invisible, and here I've got TCPA, which means I got the text for that from the TCPA, and others have picked them up from other places. Bit of work perhaps to make it a bit more consistent, but you can see there's a lot of strength there. So 40 principles, and then we've got the methods again, which we just saw again all listed out here in the database. So what we've actually got, I hope, is a strong, not just a way of capturing those vision methods and principles, but actually a way of representing them, putting that out in a very reusable form, which we can immediately realise, as you can see, as an XML file, which we can display on our website. Thank you. Okay, I hope you found that interesting. The next principles meeting is working group is going to meet on 23rd of September, and we'll be able to discuss this further. My name's Philip Ross, and let me say thank you very much for listening. Bye bye.